What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be showcasing another version of Heroes, which I've been working on for a while. I remember back when Tearlaments were first released in the TCG, there were a lot of people on different groups looking for any tier hero lists. And Heroes definitely have the tools for that. But as you can probably tell from the title, the bigger engine of heroes that you're actually playing here are the evil heroes. And you'll see why just momentarily. So, before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. So because this is a childhood deck of mine and the real first archetype I ever kind of really went into as far as buying a deck in real life, were evil heroes. So because this deck just holds a special place for me, stay tuned for the rest of the video, as you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff as this progresses. So to begin, we'll see that we're going to activate the Tear Field spell, and the three random cards in my hand, the Meta Noise, the Mass Change 2, and the Called By, are just there because I don't have any dead random 3-ofs that aren't combo pieces in this build. So you'll see I'm going to go into the Kick Kalos, add the Rhino Heart, then use the Necrom in order to banish itself and special summon an Inferno Prodigy. And from there we can use the Kick Kalos effect, special summoning the Rhino Heart, then use the Rhino Heart as Chainlink 1, the Kick Kalos as Chainlink 2. We get 5 mills here along with a send, and we're going to get the effects of Merlee and the Sharon, which will allow us to go into Millennium Eyes Restrict. And we get a Dragos Depelia along with a set 2. As you can tell, because it is a heavily invested Tearlament deck, there are RNG factors to it, but I put enough content in this video to show a whole bunch of different scenarios. So for the second combo, I wanted to do the same card, except showing how varying your combos can be based on the ways you want to go. And you'll see that I'm going to use the Sharon, mill 3, as we get the Sharon effect, go into Kick Kalos. We're going to use the Kick Kalos to search the Rhino Heart, and from there we can use the Necrom, banish itself to summon Prodigy, and from there we can use the Kick Kalos and special summon the Merlee, then use the Kick Kalos Chainlink 1, Merlee Chainlink 2 to get mill 8. And something cool about this is that now you have 2 level 2s on board. And no, I'm not playing a Sprite engine. I mentioned this because I thought about it, but the problem is that between extra deck space and the main deck investment, it would require you to go well over 40. And with the Tearlament cards already being an engine that can turbo your heroes into the graveyard, as you see there's a lot of hero graveyard effects with the Denier here. As you can see, I play the Malicious, you have the Necroms. While there probably are some Q play lines that could be explored, I wanted to keep the deck as optimal as I could. So you'll see that I'm going to go into a rank 2 now, and it's going to be the Djinn Buster, which the entire point of showing this second combo was the fact that you can get 2 level 2s on board with the Merlee and the Prodigy. So now I'm going to basically show the same thing except with Malicious, and you'll see that we're going to get the Sharon. You're basically going to take the same routes here, as you just want to get your Kick Kalos and your monster into the graveyard, then search the Rhino Heart here, use the Malicious, get out the second one, then use the Kick Kalos or the Necrom, and special summon an Inferno Prodigy, in which then we can use the Kick Kalos now, and special summon the Rhino Heart, then Chainlink 1 Rhino Heart, Chainlink 2 Kick Kalos, mill 5, and send the Hofness. And from there we can fuse away now, as we're going to go into Millennium Restrict, and then we're going to go into Dragos Depelia. As you see, we have more gas here, as I'm going to go into the Masquerena, set 1, set 2, and end on that. So now that you're seeing the pieces start to come a little bit more, now I want to take you through the hero lines. And you'll see that this is going to be the same 2 cards, except that the mills will be more oriented towards the hero line. So you'll see that I'm going to mill 3 here as I mill the Shadow Mist. The Sharon will be Chainlink 2, Shadow Mist, Chainlink 1. Then we can go into Kick Kalos, add ourselves the Stratos. Then search the Rhino Heart off of the Kick Kalos, and now you have 2 level 4s that you can get on board. And you have the Malicious that you can summon from the deck also, along with the Kick Kalos effect now, which will mill you 5, and the Chainlink 1 Rhino Heart, which will send a tier to the graveyard. So you'll see that we mill nothing at all there, as I'm going to fuse away there into the Dragos Depelia, and from there I'm going to normal summon Stratos, which can add us our evil hero Necrom, and from there we're going to go into our Redoor, and now we can set the Mass Change 2 to play around Dark Ruler, also setting the Called By and the Meta Noise. So now on to the 4th combo, and as you can see we're playing Fusion Destiny. There's 2 of the field spells here, and I'd like to note that Infernal Prodigy has more uses than just being a level 2 in this deck, and not only is it a body that you can special summon from Necrom, but the cool thing is that this is a card that you can special summon going second, and as you saw that we were playing King of the Swamp earlier, you can make Guardian Chimera plays like this, which is another thing that I have to note about this version of Heroes, quote unquote, that you're never really locked into any type of hero restrictions, which lets the boards vary and have a lot of versatility into them. So we're going to start here by special summoning the Prodigy using the tier field spell, adding the Rhino Heart. From there we can normal summon the Rhino Heart, use its effect, sending the Merly. From there we're going to fuse away into Kick Kalos. Kick Kalos will add us the Merly, and now we're going to get our mill 8. And from here we're going to get our mills, and you'll see that we hit a couple of tier names, which I'm going to use both of their effects, go into Dragos Depelia with the Sharon, or the Puffiness, and then the Sharon can get us into our Mud Dragon, which I would like to note is a level 4, and also a water, because theoretically you could go into Bahamut Shark and make Toad, but it's just the extra deck space. As you'll see, we're going to make the Dijin Buster here. We also get pseudo protection from stuff by Mud Dragon here, as you can protect yourself from targeting by changing the attributes. But as you can see, we also have Fusion Destiny, which allows us to bring out DPE to fortify the board and force your opponent to have a strong hand to out it unless they open something like just a Dark Ruler. So now I'm going to show full combo, which is why you see a 5-card random hand here. And I say full combo, but this deck can get crazier, as you'll see later in the video. So I'm going to start by activating a Hero Lives, and then we can special summon out the Stratos, which will use its effect in order to search a Shadow Mist, and from there we're going to use the Sharon, sending the Shadow Mist to the graveyard, milling 3 there. You'll see that we milled a tier name and can get Shadow Mist as Chainlink 1. We'll special summon or fusion summon the Kick Kalos now, add the Malicious as we have a Poly in our hand. And from here we can add the Rhino Heart. So we're going to use the Poly now, fusing away the Malicious and the Malicious Edge there. As you see, we're actually playing that in order to go into the DPE, and from there we can use the Malicious and special summon another copy of itself. So we'll use the Kick Kalos here, special summoning the Rhino Heart, and then we can use tier Kick Kalos to mill 5 and Rhino Heart to send a name to the graveyard. And another cool thing that I would like to point out about this is, typically heroes lose to Nib, but with the tier names being terrible to Nibiru and having monsters like Redoer and DPE that can play around Redoer along with potential access to early Dijin Busters or early Millennium Eyes Restrict. There's a lot of different ways to play around Nib. As we make the Redoer here, we're going to use the Evil Hero Necrom in order to summon the Infernal Prodigy. And now we can go into the Masquerena, use the effect of the Denier, and from there we can use the Denier effect, putting back the Mali on top of the deck, use the Mali again, and to end our board here, you'll see that we're going to go into our Appaloosa. So now I'm going to do a primary tier hand, in which you see that we have a little bit of the hero line here. And I'm going to grab the Sharon, I'm going to use the Sharon's effect, sending the Mali, and from there we can use the milled Merly to go into the Kikalos with the Sharon on board, add ourselves a copy of Rhinoheart. Then, because you have the Merly, you can technically add the Meta Noise if you want to play around Dark Ruler, and mill 8, but for the sake of the video, I just want a full combo here. And you'll see that we're going to use the Kit Kalos effect and special summon the Rhinoheart. Use the Rhinoheart's effect as Chainlink 1, Kit Kalos as Chainlink 2, mill 5. As you see, we do get a swamp there, and we're going to use that and the Sharon to go into Millennium Eyes Restrict, as now we can normal summon the Shadow Mist and then go into the Redoer, which is really cool here, as we can detach the Rhinoheart as part of the effect, and then when Redoer gets banished, Shadow Mist goes to the graveyard, and now we can use both effects, Rhinoheart as Chainlink 2, which will send the Hoffinus to the graveyard, and from there we can use the Hoffinus and fuse away to go into the Dragos Depelios. We also have the Stratos in hand that we search from Shadow Mist, and now we're going to go into our Masquerena. So now for the final test hand here, as you'll see, we hit an instant fusion and a fusion destiny. So while even if your Kit Kalos does get interrupted, you still do have the fusion destiny, which also gives you follow-up, which is a pretty nice thing about the deck. So you'll see that we're going to use the instant fusion here, and then we'll get the Kit Kalos effect, and from there we can add the Rhinoheart, use the effect of Kit Kalos, special summoning the Rhinoheart, Chainlink 1, Rhinoheart, Chainlink 2, Kit Kalos, and of course you want to add the Rhinoheart to hand to play around the Crow, but you'll see that we're going to get some tier effects here as I hit 3 of them, and we're going to go into Mud Dragon first, and then we're going to go into Dragos Depelia, and then from here we can go into our Kaleido Heart. And from there, we can special summon or normal summon the Liquid Soldier, special summoning the Stratos, adding us a hero. So as you can see, Kaleido Heart is another way to play around Nib, as now we have Redoer, Kaleido Heart, and the Fusion Destiny, which will summon out Enforcer. And now 3 of our monsters just really don't care about Nibiru. So now I'm going to show 2 separate replays in which you'll see the full potential of the deck and how it functions. That being said, as you see, there haven't been any hand traps, and that's because this deck is all gas. It's similar to Chaos Lightsworn decks back in the day, but you'll see what I mean by that as we continue the video. So I'm going to go first here, or well, the front side of me is going to go first here, and then I'm going to use the Swamp, adding the Poly in again, that's just to play around hand traps, use the Field Spell, special summon the Prodigy, use the Sharon, sending the Mali there as I mill 3 and hit a tier name, hit 2 of them, and now I'm going to go into Millennium Eyes Restrict here as I also hit a Swamp, and we can also go into Kit Kalos here as I'm going to add myself a copy of Rhinoheart, use the Kit Kalos effect, and from there we can use the Rhinoheart effect, Rhinoheart Chainlink 1, Kit Kalos Chainlink 2, mill 5, as you see we hit a Shadow Mist, and from there we hit a Sharon as well, so Sharon will be Chainlink 2, as we fuse it away into Dragos Depelia, and from there we're going to add the Stratos. I'd also like to note that the emergency call is no longer in the deck. I replaced it with Meta Noise, but that's what it was before. And you'll see that we're going to go into our redoer here, normal summon the Stratos, which will allow us to add our Denier, and from there we can go into our Masquerena, use the Mali here, and now I'm going to fuse away the Mali and the Denier to go into DPE, and then use the Denier again, and put back the Mali. And typically you could end on this, but because I wanted to show a full combo basically, I'm also going to show that you have this line of play here with the Unicorn, and you can special summon the Mali from deck that you put back with Denier, and now make Appaloosa. So now you have a total of 4 monster negations, the pop and the redoer, along with some follow-up. So we'll see that the opposite side is going to top deck the Merly here as we use the redoer and hit a monster. And something I'd like to note here is that the reason that this hand is structured like this is because I wanted to make a Chimera play possible here, while also being able to make a strong turn 1. So we'll see that I'm going to use the field spell now, as I'm going to pop that with DPE. The reason that there wasn't a use of the Swamp King first is because of Millennium Eyes Restrict. You don't want it to get stolen from the graveyard. And as you can see, going second with this hand, you're already getting the short end of the stick with Mali and Necrom. So that's why I'm also going to show another replay where the deck draws better going second. But you'll see that I'm going to special summon the Prodigy now, normal summon the Meru, and at this point I'm just trying to bait the Appaloosa, which I think is what you should try to do. But I think that the correct thing to do is stop the Merly with the Dragos Depelia, because it lowers its effect to 1. So this just shows that no matter what line of play you could have taken, this board wasn't going to be broken. And you'll see that the Swamp King is going to come down now, as the Millennium Eyes Restrict is gone, but Appaloosa is still there. And now we're going to detach the redoer here in order to get our tier monsters, and we're going to also be able to remove the Inferno Prodigy, as we're just going for cleanup here. And again, I'm showing this to show the playstyle and what you want to do with the deck. The deck does require knowledge of how to play the Tearlaments stuff, along with having experience with the hero stuff, as there's just a lot of different lines as you can play, and especially with the generic link lines that you can take, it's not necessarily always an easy deck to play. And you'll see that I'm going to use the Kick Kalos here in order to special summon the Rhino Heart, then chainlink 1 Rhino Heart, chainlink 2 Kick Kalos, mill 5, and send another name. As you see, we have 2 tier effects coming. And from here we're going to make the Kaleido Heart, and then also make a Mud Dragon, and the Kaleido Heart will be able to return the Merly to deck. And this is enough damage for game. As you see, we attack with the Redoer, the Enforcer, and the Kaleido Heart. As I promised, as you can see, the going second hand from the opposite side is a lot better. So you'll see full gas from both sides, and this replay is a little bit crazy. So you'll see I'm gonna use the Stratos after special summoning the Hero Lives, adding the Liquid Soldier, using the Swamp, and then adding the Poly off of it, which we can then use the field spell, add ourselves the Sharon, and then we can use the Sharon effect, sending the Necrom, mill the Hovinus, which will allow us to go into Kick Kalos. From there we can use the Kick Kalos effect. Because you have them early, you can add Meta Noise here. But again, for the sake of the video and to go full combo, I'm going to add the Rhino Heart, as I just want to show the different lines of plays that you can take. And from here, you can mill your 5 and get the tier name to the graveyard. As you see, we do mill the Meta Noise, and we get back the Haveness, along with being able to use our tiers to go into Millenniumize Restrict. And from there, now we also get Redoer on board, which allows us to use its effect. And then we can use the Rhino Heart in the graveyard in order to special summon itself, sending the Merly from hand. And from there, we're going to go into Dragostapelia. So now we can normal summon the Liquid Soldier, as we haven't normal summoned yet, and then special summon the Stratos. The Stratos will allow us to add the Shadow Mist, and now we can use the Poly in order to fuse away into Absolute Zero. And as you can see with previous boards, we also play the IP Masquerena, which one really cool line of play that this deck has is the ability to make the IP Masquerena, and now you have Masquerena being able to link away with Absolute Zero in order to wipe your opponent's board. So from here, we'll see the Necrom use its effect, getting us the Malicious Edge, and then during the end phase, we'll get back our Redoer, and then we'll see the going second. See the Redoer activate here in the standby phase, hitting a spell. We'll see the activation of a Hero Lives. From there, we can get the Strato summon. It also allows us to get a search. And much like previously, we're going to get the Liquid Soldier, need that extender. As we're going to chain the IP here, the Haveness will then be chained to that, which is another cool interaction you're about to see, as the Appaloosa is going to come down and the Absolute Zero is going to wipe the opponent's board. The Appaloosa will negate the Sharon, and then the Haveness will trigger off the Absolute Zero's destruction effect, in which we can negate that too with Appaloosa. And now we'll see the activation of the field spell, which will get us a Sharon to hand. Use that Sharon, which will be hit by the Appaloosa. And from there, we can normal summon the Liquid Soldier, attempt to use its effect, use the Dragostapelia here in order to play around anything from the hand with our Millenniumize Restrict, which forces the opponent to go into battle phase, assuring we don't die. So now we go and use the Swamp in order to add the Poly, and this gets us into our Guardian Chimera play, in which now we can use the Chimera Chainlink 1 and the Merly Chainlink 2. The Redoer will be Chainlink 3 to just dodge any type of destruction without gaining advantage. And we get into the Prodigy, and you'll see that the Merly is going to go into the Kick Kalos, the Guardian Chimera pops the Dragostapelia, the field spell pops the field spell from the front side, and the Kick Kalos gets a search of the Meta Noise here, as we can use Foolish to send the Rhino Heart, then use the Rhino Heart sending the Meta Noise. The Meta Noise will then trigger adding us back the Haveness, and then we can send the Merly off the Rhino Heart so that we could use the Kick Kalos effect, which will be met by a Haveness on the front side, a mill 3 as we hit a Merly, and now we're going to see a mill 8 from the opposite side, and a mill 3 or a fusion into Kick Kalos from the front side. As we mill 3 there, mill another 5, we get a Shadow Mist search, Kick Kalos Chainlink 2 because turn player gets priority in Chainlinks, and from here we see an add of the Shadow Mist. We also see the Necrom special summon the Infernal Prodigy, which now we can go into Unicorn, and Unicorn will be used to spin the Kick Kalos there, as we also have a Mali in graveyard now, and now we can use the Denier's effect. From here we can use the Denier to put back the Mali, and now we can go into the IP Masquerena, use the Mali again, and then go into the Appaloosa. So now we have an untargetable 3300 defense with the 3 negations from Appo. And I'm going to use the Redoer here. I'm not going to use Appo so that he's forced to crash. And from here, we can force the crash here, as now we're going to use the Necrom in graveyard, special summon the Prodigy, use the effect of Shaylin then send the tier name, use the Shaylin effect, and the Merly, and the Havanus. We'll go into the Kit Kalos, we'll also go into a Mud Dragon, and we won't be able to resolve the third tier because we have nothing to go into that we can. So I'm going to add the Merly off of the Kit Kalos because we already went through our Rhino Heart, and that's kind of how this deck plays. You do want to be able to mill as much as you can, as you see with the Necroms, the Malicious, the Deniers, and whatnot. But you'll see that the opposite side is going to get a Dragos Depelia here along with the Field Spell Pop. Now it's time to Mud Dragon Protect here, as show there's not really anything that you can do to avoid getting Dragos Depelia on your Kit Kalos. And I'm going to use the Merly here, which will mill 3, and unfortunately we don't get anything that we can use, but we go into the Unicorn, spin back the Dragos Depelia, and from here we do see a top deck Destiny Fusion, but the funny thing is there's 8 cards left in deck, and as you can see, 1 Mali is already banished. So we're going to use the Sharon here, mill some more cards, fuse again. As you see, we're going to go into the Kaleido Heart, and this is to spin back the Kit Kalos, and then the Field Spell can pop the Unicorn. And from here, we can just switch over the monsters to attack position, and because of a Hero Lives, we only need 2 attacks to swing for lethal. So onto the long-awaited deck profile here. I know I showed a lot of depth into those replays because, again, I just have a passion for this deck as it's just so nostalgic to me. Unfortunately, as you can see, there is no room in the main deck for hand traps or board breakers. You could technically side the Meta Noise, take out the Fusion Destinies, and fit in like some Dark Rulers or something like that. All gas felt better for going first as well, especially being able to play around Dark Ruler with the Meta Noise. While you could increase the size of the deck to maybe 43 or 46, I wanted to make milling the tiers as consistent as possible, as well as your graveyard effects with your Necroms, your Denier, and your 2 Malis, along with hitting the swamps here. As you can see, that's kind of the reason why I said that this deck plays a lot like Lightsworn, as you can mill 3 with each of these, mill 5 with the Kit Kalos. You have so many cards here that benefit from being the graveyard, and Shadow Mist even netting you a search. To get onto the card by card, you'll see that we play the 1 Malicious Edge, the 3 Prodigy, the 2 Necroms, the 1 Denier, the 1 Shadow Mist, the 1 Stratos, the 1 Liquid Soldier, the 1 Rhino Heart, the 3 Merly, the 3 Havnus, the 3 Sharon, the 2 Swamps, the 2 Malis, the 2 Fusion Destinies, the 1 Instant Fusion, the 1 Rhoda, the 1 Foolish, the 1 Called by the Grave, Meta Noise, the 3 Field Spells, 2 Polys, the 1 Mass Change 2, the 3 A Hero Lives. And onto the extra deck, we have the Appaloosa. I would like to find room for access code. As you can see, it's just tough to fit it. While you could take out the Acid, felt like having the back row Disruption available in the main deck, as you can always A Hero Lives, or your Shadow Mist to get Mass Change 2, and Kit Kalos can get you into Rhino Heart. Just not really that hard to do. If I were to add in access code or another extra deck monster, it definitely would have to be Acid. You'll see the Unicorn and the Mask here. As you can see, we don't play Dark because of the Mask play with the Absolute Zero. Then we have Redoer, Djinn Buster, Guardian Chimera, Dragos Depelia, the DPE, which you can also hard make with Poly, which is kind of nice, the Absolute Zero, the Acid, the Dark Law, the Mud Dragon, the 1 Kit Kalos, the 1 Kaleido Heart, and the Millenniumize Restrict. Now onto the side deck, you'll see that I've been putting this in a lot of the decks here, the 1 Pankratops, the 1 HFD, and the 1 Reboot. 3 Mystic Minds, just another card I shove in every side deck. The 3 Dark Ruler No Mores, because again, this deck needs high impact going second cards, that's why there's no hand traps. 3 Twin Twisters, and Deck Devies to round out the deck profile. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed. have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below, as I would love to see the different options that this deck can take. But anyways, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. It's Bones.